It's a yes bank maximum, the first of this contest. Oh, that is brilliant. It's a hero maximum. On the ground, down the ground, another hero maximum.
Welcome back to the Maximum Cricket Podcast, episode number 40. My name is Munter, and I unfortunately am not joined by anyone today. I'm going solo. We've gone to video, which has come with a few challenges, that's for sure. We actually recorded a full podcast last night, which will never see the light of day because it just didn't work out. Okay, there's a bit of teething, and we'll get there. But we've got a massive show for you guys today. Well, I mean, it's not a massive show, obviously, it's just me, but big show if you're Indian or English. If you're Australian or New Zealand like myself, it's going to be therapy. Let's be real. It's what went right for England and India and what went wrong with New Zealand and Australia. Got a different take from the trade proposal this week. Don't have the co-host to talk to propose it to, but I'm going to propose it to you guys, the listeners. Yeah, and massive news. Obviously, the podcast is now brought to you by PYRANHA grip socks, which is, we've obviously had them before during the T20 World Cup. They're outstanding, so get around them. By now, we all know England demolished the Black Caps by 267 runs. It's felt close at times, but if we're being honest, as Black Caps fans, we weren't in it. Let's be real. And before we dig a little deeper, I just want to see where it ranks on the disappointment scale as a Kiwi fan. I don't know if this is going to make me feel worse or better, but here we go. Just going to do home tests because if we bring in one days and away, I think we know where that's heading. So looking back, this did make me feel a little bit better, knowing that we had some really pathetic sides back in the day, some really average sides. So yeah, starting out, I think I've got here the last time Australia toured New Zealand in 2016. Now, obviously, everyone's going to remember that for McCullum's fastest 100. It was a magical occasion. Myself and Lugsy were there, actually. It was a big day. I actually got interviewed by Sky about 17 Coronas deep that day. So that was a big day. But if you really dig a little deeper into that series, we got pumped, absolutely pumped. We lost that test by 7 wickets. We lost the first test by an innings. And that was a disappointing series as a whole, just because Australia doesn't come here very often. I mean, that's the last time they've come here for a test series. And we had a semi-decent team. We're on the rise. And just to lay an egg, similar to like when we went there in 2019, just all the hype and nothing to show for it is pretty disappointing. So that's on the list. Now, another one here, I've got Boxing Day Test versus Pakistan in 2003. Now, this is back when Pakistan obviously used to come here during the summer, and instead of us going over there, which happens to be the norm. And also, we were pretty shit. Let's be real. We were very average side. This is the era of third innings collapses. And to be honest, this was no different. After a drawn first test, New Zealand had a first innings lead of 170. They were about to win the test series against Pakistan, which I don't have the stats with me, but I can't imagine it happened very often. But as was the case back then, we shat the bed, bowled out for 103. Pakistan win by 7 wickets. Shoalback takes 11. He's just too quick. That was back in the day where if you were quick, we wanted none of you. We wanted no part of you. And this series was no different. Shoalback just straight through us. Muhammad Sami, that sort of era. Not great. So the next one I've got, this is going to be quite a pivotal test, I think, when we look back. Because I think this is potentially the beginning of the end of the golden era. If we do indeed head into a really poor period, which is possible, and we'll dig in a little deeper later on. But losing to Bangladesh at home in 2021. Now, obviously, there wasn't a lot of hype around this side. Well, there wasn't a lot of hype around the series because Bangladesh always come here, and we always deal to them, and it feels good. We get runs, we take wickets, it all feels good. They can't handle our pitches. except we played it at the Mount. So that's two losses in a row at the Mount, which is great. So shouldn't play there again. And to be fair, like it was the first home test since New Zealand had won the Test Championship. You know, it was like a coronation. It was like, welcome back. The best Test team in the world is back home. And then they lose to Bangladesh, which it was like at the time I was like, oh, you know what, Bangladesh aren't too bad. And we pants them the next test, and then we pants South Africa. And then it's all come crumbling down since then. We haven't won a test we haven't won a test in over a year. So that really sucks. So yeah, I mean, Bangladesh haven't really done anything since. They're still one of the worst test teams in the world. The World Test Championships shouldn't be losing at home 6 months after winning the whole thing. So yeah, and I think the last one, I think this is number one. Let's be real. The darkest day in New Zealand cricket, March 1955. I have to get the score cut up. This is special stuff. Now I believe at this point, New Zealand had not won a single test. We were pretty bad. Like I reckon the worst test team for like 30 years or something stupid like that. It was quite ridiculous. Quite remarkable how long it took us to win a test actually. But England arrived on our shores in 1955, I guess it was. New Zealand batted first, 200. Competitive total back in the days, you know, uncovered pitches and whatnot. England, 246. We have ourselves a game. Only a lead of 46. Dare to dream. Potentially we get 200 again. We might squeeze them batting last. Who knows? Unfortunately, England didn't actually have to bat again because New Zealand were bowled out for 26, which is still the lowest test innings ever. It's been close to be broken a few times, but that's tough. So looking back at the scorecard, we have Burke Sutcliffe top scoring on 11, and yep, that's pretty much it. So that's a really disappointing effort. 26 of 27 overs. Wow, I tell you what, that is the opposite of Bazball, that's for sure. So yeah, where does this one rank against England? Look, it was disappointing. It was so disappointing, but I don't think it's as bad as the Bangladesh or the 9 or the 26 all out. But it's in there somewhere. Here's why it's so disappointing. It's so disappointing to be thoroughly outplayed tactically at home. Now, I think England's a better side. I think that's fair. I don't think Bazball is unbeatable. Just to get the tactics so horribly wrong, a home day-night test at the Mount in a home ground, and England just beat us tactically the whole way through. You know, obviously, to pick a side with one new ball bowler with a pink ball test is inexcusable. Like, there's no excuse for that. I don't understand how you can pick Wagner, Kugelheim, and Tickner all in the same team. Now, Tickner was okay, Kugelheim was okay. Southey tried his best, but I think New Zealand lost this test probably the first two sessions on day one. They were always behind and they never really recovered. We scratched and clawed, we kept ourselves in it, or England kept us in it because they just kept going so hard. But we just were never really in it, and it all came to a head on at night, day 3. It all turned to shit. But again, Wagner, new ball bowler. I don't want to say it again. It was so bad. Like, people want to talk about that spell, that really expensive spell where he goes for 10 or so and over, and it wasn't great. But I would say that's more good batting. Like, Pope was amazing, Root was amazing, Brooke was amazing, and maybe an inability to adapt. But the new ball stuff was so bad, and we needed to be so accurate at the start. Like, if we're going to compete with Anderson, Broad, and Robinson, to think, I don't know, just to leave Trent Bolt, we'll do it. We'll talk about Trent Bolt. 20 minutes down the road, 10 minutes down the road, I don't care. The man, as Wagner said, no one knows Mount Maunganui better. He deserved to play. I mean, that was ridiculous. And to be so arrogant in your selections that, oh, we want to give these other guys a go, and then you select the wrong side. You don't even pick a new ball bowler. You think, oh, Wagner can do it. He can swing it. It's not just about swinging the ball. You've got to be accurate, and he's not accurate, and maybe he's on his way out. I don't know, but tactically, that's to be so outplayed tactically was probably what's tipped me over the edge with the side. It's so disappointing. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk at the batting. I mean, the batting wasn't great, sure, but when you're batting at night, when you're starting the innings at night, two times out of two, and it's against Anderson and Broad who've just taken 1,000 wickets, and Ollie Robinson who averages 20, you're going to get rolled. You know, you might have done better, and you can go, oh, England, they went 80 odd for two. Yes, they did, because they were facing Blair Tickner, Neil Wagner with a new ball. They weren't even close to being accurate. I don't want to do it, but I will. If we were more accurate with that new ball, I think we could make more inroads up top, especially with the new ball on a seamer's wicket. It's tough. I mean, batting wise, have we got the right batters in? I don't know. Henry Nicholls, should he play? It's not that he's not good enough. I don't want to say he's not a good enough player at this level, because, I mean, he's done it before, but he looks a shell of himself. He looks nowhere near the player he did 3 years ago, 2 years ago, when he was, in the top 10. I think potentially the pressure is weighing to him. I don't know if he just looks so tentative and unsure of himself, and batting at 4 just makes it so much harder. I think batting at like 4 is such an important position. We used to have Ross Taylor. England's got Joe Root. Australia's got Steve Smith. India's got Kohli. Like, these are all-time greats. And to have a struggling Henry Nicholls at 4 when you've got Daryl Mitchell, who's averaging 58. Tom Blundell's averaging 45 now, or whatever it was. I'm not saying he should be at 4, but I think if he's going to play again, he needs to bat at 5. And you can't ask him to bat 4 when he's out of form. I think it's reckless. Who do I want to see? I think I'd give Henry Nicholls one more go. I was thinking about Will Young. I think I've posted a story that I'd put Will Young at 4 and Will Young at 5 and Mitchell at 4. But you know what? I've had some time to reflect, and I think Nicholls gets one more crack. He's not going to bat under lights. He's going to bat probably on a green seamer. And if it doesn't work out, then this is probably it for him, I'd say. I would suggest that if it doesn't work out, I think he needs to go back to Plunkett Shield, score some runs, and just go back to the Henry Nicholls he was, because I'm not one of those people that thinks he's a bad player. I just think that he's out of form. And to just keep picking him at 4 against one of the best attacks in the world at the moment is just reckless. That's probably the change I'd make. With the bowlers, like, Henry's going to come in, either Kugelheim, Wagner, or Tickner's going to come out. I think I'd keep Kugelheim just because of that extra batting at 8. I think him and Tickner are equally poor. So if it was me, I'd probably bring in Duffy, friend of the show. But obviously he's gone back to Otago, so that's not going to happen. Or even Trent Bolt, but that's not going to happen, obviously. So Kugelheim, I think he's better. I think he was slightly better than Tickner. I think like I said, they were equally poor. Wagner, let's give him one more crack. Bouncier, Wellington should be a lot bouncier. In his warehouse, bigger boundary. I think let's take that new ball out of his hand and let's just see what he's got. So that's my side. Look, let's talk about England, because if they weren't just bending over our side, I could enjoy this for what it is. And this is cricket. This is how cricket should be played. They constantly are trying things. They won't let an opposition be on top of them. They won't let the game drift. They just continue to attack, attack, attack. And that's not just with the bat, it's with the ball. I was One of the most impressive parts with the ball is not the underlight stuff is great, Stuart Broad bowling grenades. Like we can talk about that spell, which was unplayable. And like, yes, you should get bowled, blah blah blah. But when you watch, sometimes when Stuart Broad's like that, he's just bowling grenades. Like it just feels like he's got that wobble seam going, and it's just wobbling on its way down, and it's just ready to explode off that pitch, and it does. And he doesn't know which way it's going. The batter doesn't, and it's good night. Robinson's the same. Anderson, I mean, what more is there to say? I think he averages like 20 with the ball after 35, but it's during the day with the ball I was more impressed. I think, yeah, day two was probably one of the most impressive performances with the ball when you had Conway just from day dot, from that first over abroad, absolutely pumped it, 3 4s. He was on a mission, and it was so flat it was so flat during the day. But they didn't just go, oh, we're going to ride this out. We're going to ride this out. They were like, we are going to take wickets. That's how we're going to win. We're going to take wickets. That is McCullum right there. Stokes brings himself on constantly, constantly tinkering with the fields, bounces, just making things interesting. That was quite impressive. The batting, yeah, Harry Brook, he was unbelievable. This kid is special. He is like KP on steroids. I've never seen a more confident person in my life. It is ridiculous. I was a little on the fence with him after Pakistan. I thought, you know what, he failed in his first test in England. He bully balled, a pretty average Pakistan team on flat wickets. And I thought, well, well done, but let's see what happens when it moves around a wee bit. And, it was still reasonably flat at the mount, but still, that was special. That was genuinely special. He is so talented. Um, yeah, there's so much. I mean, the way he was just destroying Wagner down the ground he was just like, you are not good enough to bowl to me. Don't bowl short of me. I am too good. Getting your bouncer whacked down the ground like that is so demoralizing. Like you're too slow. That is one of the most arrogant shots I've ever seen in my life, and I loved every minute of it. The other thing I want to talk about their batting was just the way that they won't let the opposition bowl to them. So they have multiple plans for bowlers. And sometimes it feels like they think about these plans on the fly. Like I've noticed when the ball's moving around, Pope does it quite well. He'll sort of like hop step towards mid off and try and take out the swing. And he kind of does work every now and then. He's quite good. Crawley does that as well, but he's terrible. I know our friends that dealt with cricket love him, but holy, he is terrible. That first innings, I swear I've never seen a worst first 14 balls in my life. Bowled off a no ball, dropped, and then dismissed. And I think he hit one ball in between. Like that was dreadful. If that ball moves like a millimeter, he is average. He will not score a 50 in the Ashes. I'm calling this right now. He is average, average. I don't get the hype at all. I think if you compare him to Duckett was unbelievable. Duckett actually can defend the ball, which you're going to have to do. You're going to get bad. You're going to get good balls, which Crawley cannot keep them out. It's remarkable. Like he can put away bad balls. It's great, but if it's a hint of a good ball, I mean, he's kicking those stumps over like Hazelwood, Cummins, Stark. See you later. Like, there's no chance he scores any runs. Duckett is good. Crawley is not. Okay, there's my take. Pope, yeah, that spell that Wagner got dusted up. Like, I watched every ball of it, and that was some riveting stuff. It really was. It was like this chess match where England had all these England had all these moves, and New Zealand had two moves, and that was it. So Wagner comes on, short stuff, short plan, the stock standard field. You know where it's going. It's all leg side. All the fielders are out there. Nighthawk, 7 off 17, catch you later. And then Pope and Root are kind of struggling a little bit. They're kind of like, well, we want to play the shot, but we don't know what to do quite yet. We're sort of figuring it out, getting used to the pace. They're kind of paddling it around the corner. And a lot of them are kind of just missing fielders. And then I don't know if it was Pope's idea or Root's idea, but Pope just decided, I'm going to sort of step inside it and I'm going to hit up on the ball and I'm going to clear fine leg for 6. And he did it quite a few times. Root did it as well. Brooke did it later on. And I was surprised how long it took for New Zealand to change their tactics. Like, it wasn't working. And I guess they were like, oh, one of them's going to go to hand. Yeah, but, 100 runs later. So their next plan was Wagner to go the other end, which meant they had to hit to a longer boundary. And do you think Pope and co just started to do the same shot? No, they didn't. They were like, because obviously all the fielders are on the leg side. So he knew it was short because the field dictates it has to be short. He can't bowl it anywhere else. So he bowls it short and Pope's just backing away and hitting him down the ground like a tennis player. And New Zealand's shell-shocked because they didn't have another plan. There was no slower bounces. There were no Yorkers and things like that. And I get with the field, you can't, but that's what happens when you have a one-ball field is you don't have a plan B. That's the plan. And England bettered it, which is, that to me just shows that's why I really enjoy watching the side, because it doesn't matter how many times you beat them. They will keep coming. They will keep trying things. So, I hate to say it, but I can't wait till they play a better side, if I'm honest. Right, let's talk about India, Australia. By now, everyone knows that Australia blew a golden opportunity to level that series against India, but instead was skittled for 113 after being 60 odd for 1 overnight, 90 odd for 3, by the way. That's wild, by the way. And before we dig into that, it made me think about my favourite Australian collapses. Now, am I just bringing this up to make me feel better about New Zealand? Maybe, but here we are. So this is what I've got. Everyone's probably going to enjoy this except for Australia. So, yeah, sorry. Okay, here's one. Cape Town, South Africa, 2011. I think this is a Pat Cummins series. I don't know if he's playing this game, but anyway. Australia have a good record in South Africa, and they had a first innings lead of around 170. After bowling South Africa for 98, they are on a roll. However, it all went to shit. Australia were all out for 47. And South Africa won by 7 wickets, I think. Chased down 200 odd. No. I guess it must be 250. I don't know. 200 something. Australia were actually 9 down for 21. So they put on 26 for the last wicket. They almost broke New Zealand's record. Bugger. Everyone knows this one. 8 for 15, Trent Bridge versus England 2016. Australia all out by lunch on the first day, and they basically lost the Ashes on the first day. Another one involving South Africa, Hobart 2016. They could generally roll some teams back in the day of South Africa. New Zealand was on the back of it, 45 all out, started the McCullum era. I think there must have been some other ones. That was a genuinely wild South African attack. We're talking Philander, Morkel, Stain. Who else was there? A few others. Anyways, Australia bowled out 85. Steve Smith not out for 48. Wowee. I think this is my favourite one. Melbourne, Boxing Day, England, 2010. 90,000 people to watch the Ashes. And obviously, they've got Australia batting first. Dream result. Everyone wants to see it. Unfortunately, they're all out in 2 sessions. No, actually, might have been less than that. I don't know. All out for 98. But, people always say, wait till the other team bats on it. Well, they did. They made it 550. England finished that day 157 for none. I would say that's probably the worst day of cricket anyone's ever had as a side. There's no way it can be any worse than that. Because sometimes when you get rolled, you can be like, oh, it's okay because the other team got rolled. There's no excuse when they're 157 for none, 550. Funny enough, Australia lost that test and the Ashes. Where does this one rank? I don't know. It's in there. It's definitely in there. They had a really golden opportunity. I think that's probably the worst part about it. Like the first test is they lost convincingly. There's no hope. It's the hope that kills you. Like I genuinely thought Australia had a chance. They had, everything was in their favour. India had to bat last, even though they chased 114. They did it 4 down, and they were trying to pump it because they knew they were fucked. So to just get rolled like that is, that's tough. If you're a diehard Australian fan, that is a tough. A lot of the old heads are struggling at the minute. Did they sweep too much? Yeah, probably they did. But the first test, they defended the heart. They tried to defend. They tried to play India their own way, and look, they lost convincingly. You can't beat India like India. You can't beat them playing their own game. They are too bloody good at this game in their home conditions. Jadeja, Ashwin, Axar, they are unbelievable. I don't think people are realising how good these three players are in India. It's literally those three versus Australia right now. I cannot remember 2 to 3 players getting all the runs and taking all the wickets like it's under 10s. Like that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen at all. Axar Patel averages 79 this series. That's more than anyone. Jadeja averages 48. Ashwin averages 30. Out of the top 5 averages out of both teams, there's 3 of them right there. The other 2 are Rohit Sharma and Hanscom, which surprised me. Hanscom doing okay. That's wild. That's 3 bowlers. Not really, are they? But then you got to add in the fact that Jadeja and Ashwin have taken all the wickets. They've taken 31 wickets in 2 tests. How's that compared to everyone else? Well, every other bowler from both teams has combined for 32 wickets. Both teams. That is incredible. So I think Axar's only taken 1, which puts it in perspective. So you could say those 3 have taken more than everyone. But look, I don't know how you beat this team. I don't think a World 11 beats India and India. I think their spin attack is too good. Like if you try to compile the best spin team to go there, you'd probably go, look, you're probably going to go line, do you go Ajaz Patel? He took 10 for, but, he kind of took 10 for because no one else could bowl, to be fair. Not to dismiss that 10 for like I just did, but they still got 300. So, the spin, there's no team that can go there and compete with their spinners. Like I think, there's talk about Bazball going to Australia and competing. And look, I've said before, you can't beat India playing like India. So playing a completely different style is probably your best chance. But I don't think that necessarily means that they win. They might do better, but they still don't have a good spin attack to put batters under pressure like this attack. This attack is so good. I think the problem with what Australia did was you got to vary your attack. You can't just sweep, or defend, come down the wicket. You've got to vary it. You've got to sweep a little bit, reverse, defend, come down the wicket, keep these all-time bowlers guessing. They are too smart. Like Ashwin, questionable bloke, but genuinely one of the smartest minds in this game. He's going to figure it out. Jadeja's laughing at these blokes sweeping because he can't believe if they keep sweeping, Carey's been out 3 times reverse sweeping. Bowled. The same, it's like he's reverse sweeping and he's trying to do it from too far to the leg side and he keeps getting bowled around his legs. Like if you do it so often, these guys figure it out. It's kind of like in the NBA where you've got LeBron James. They always talk about how you can't send him the same coverage over and over again because he figures it out. Like one time is enough. Change it up. I think it's the same with these good bowlers. And it might be the same when you bowl to baseball batters. You've got to completely mix it up. You've got to keep them guessing. They can't always know your plan. Otherwise, they will figure it out. And once they figure it out, they will exploit it. Look, I think Australia's shot. Half the team's buggered. And I don't see a way out of the series. It felt like that was a gut check moment. Okay, this is a good time to bring on our trade proposals. Okay, because this isn't going to involve New Zealand and Australia, two struggling teams. So it's going to really help everyone involved. It's powered by Piranha Grip Socks. So let's call it the Piranha Proposal. Piranha Proposal, if you will. That's a real tough one. Non-slip grip technology designed to minimize slipping and maximize output from your shoe. Designed and tested right here in New Zealand by professional athletes. The choice of sock by several Black Caps and White Ferns. To be fair, they're struggling, so read into that what you will. But they are on the number one women's bowler in the world, Sophie Eccleston. She's a hell of a player. Performance, quality, and style. They look good. They feel good. They perform good. What more do you want? And even though, you know what, the Caps are struggling, the Ferns are struggling, they've just been knocked out. Tell you what, it's not Piranha's fault. It's not Piranha's fault. The form of the Piranha athletes is right up there. For the Caps, Conway, 70-odd blunder with an amazing 100. Mealy Kerr, couple of player of the matches awards. So I mean, mate, I don't want to act like I know everything, but you know, maybe if some of these players are wearing Piranhas more often, Ferns would be in the semis, and the Caps might be 1-0 up. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but that's kind of what it looks like. But yeah, anyways, Piranha back on board at TMC for another stint. Grab yourself 20% off Piranha's latest range by using the code TMC20. Help them, help us. Righto, team. Today's trade proposal. I'm going to be the general manager for the Black Caps, and I was going to be talking to Lugsy and Jacko as the general managers of Australia, but I'm going to talk to you guys. Two sides, we're struggling. We're both struggling, let's be real. One side, that's us, we can't overcome baseball. It's swarmed us 4 tests in a row. And you guys, you're just struggling against probably the most dominant home team of all time. But I think there's a way we can help each other out. Now, I'm not thinking about a long-term trade. No, I'm thinking short-term. Okay, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to ask for a player for our home summer. So what that means is the final test against England and 2 tests against Sri Lanka. And you're going to get him back for the Ashes and whatnot, primed, ready to go. Because I don't think you need him, to be honest. I don't think he helps you in any way. And then in return, how would you like Michael Bracewell? Off spinning all rounder. Tell you what, you would love a spin bowling all rounder. You just sent Ashton Agar home. He's obviously no good to you. Maybe you're making room for Michael Bracewell. I don't know, but he's better than Agar with ball and bat. I think he'd be very deadly over there. And on top of that, I don't think that's enough for what I'm asking, and you don't know yet. But what I want to give as well, I want to give another player. Look, Agar's obviously on the way home. Kuhnemann, he was pretty. Look, he's got no experience. Let's be real. How would you like the most successful left arm spinner to go to India ever? He's taken the best figures ever in India by an overseas player. 10 for 119. How would you like Ajaz Patel? A really good left arm spinner, a really good all-rounder spinner that just adds a bit of balance to your side that you don't have. And in return, all we're looking for is one player. Look, we're looking for Cam Green. Okay, and you might think, Cam Green, he's too valuable. You're going to get him back. Okay, so just hear me out here. Bracewell just isn't really required. He hardly bowls for us, especially in Wellington. And we really, really miss Colin de Grandhomme. But what if you could have Cam Green prepare for baseball by playing against baseball? Imagine that. Imagine playing a tour game. You guys don't do that anymore. So, Cam Green, he's not going to play for you guys. Let's be real, and he shouldn't, because if you play Cam Green, then you've got to play 3 specialist spinners, and that affects the balance of your side a lot. If you play Cam Green as one of your, if you played Michael Bracewell as one of your spinners, you can then pick another pace bowler, a Scotty Boland, a Hazelwood. He's not fit, but Stark. You can pick Stark and Cummins, and then you can pick AJ Patel, Nathan Lyon, whatever. That's a side. That gives you a chance. Cam Green doesn't. And to be fair, you're probably going to lose anyway. So why not get Cam Green away from that, those dust bowls, and play against England, because he's gonna really provide that balance to the New Zealand side that we desperately need. We've struggled with no Colin de Grandhomme, incredibly underrated player. We just don't have an all-rounder that bowls decent pace, and that means if we can pick Cam Green, we can pick a specialist spinner, potentially a Sodhi. Obviously not AJS because you've got him. But look, let me know in the comments if you think that's a fair enough trade. If you think that helps both teams. Short term, Cam Green for Michael Bracewell and AJS Patel. Righto, so we're not going to do snack draft because it's just me, so that's kind of lame. So that's probably us for this week. So sorry for the short pod, and obviously it's just myself, Lugsy and Jacko will be back next week. But massive thanks to our listeners, and in particular the patrons. If you want to support the podcast a little bit more, obviously we're going video now, so help us on this charge. Check out our Patreon for early access. If that's not for you, no worries. Chuck us a rating and review. Let's get us up those charts. Massive thanks to PYRANHA for partnering us, of course. And that is it from me. We'll catch you next week.